back to the lecture series Ray at 100, which we are having as part of the centenary celebration of Satyajit Ray. And in today's lecture, we will be discussing on the desiring woman in Satyajit Ray's cinema. Now, if you look at Ray's filmography, then we will find that there had been a number of interesting and intriguing women characters in Ray's films, right from his first film till the last. But we can actually try to categorize them into a number of different categories and sets. And one of them is obviously the mother figure. And it starts off with Indir Thakrun and Srabajaya in Pather Panchali, and Srabajaya also in the second part of the Apu Trilogy, Aparajito. And we also have Amulya's mother in Samapti, the third part of Tin Kanya, which is the three daughters, and Subrata's mother in Mahanagar. And we also have Siddhartha's mother in Pratibdandi. And apart from these, there are a few other mother characters as well, but probably of less significance. And apart from the mother archetype and the mother category, we also have the wife category. And straight away, Aparna comes into our mind in Apu Sangsar and Dayamoyi in Devi, both played by Sharmila Tagore. And then we have Mrinmoyi in Samapti, and then we have Charu in Charulata, Karuna in Mahapurush, Arati in Mahanagar. All of these last three played by Madhavi Mukherjee. And we also have the wife of the priest in Ashani Sanket, the wife in Moni Malik, the wife Moni Malika in Monihara, which is the second part of the of Tin Kanya. And again, there are a few other characters as well. And the third set, which I can think of, is that of daughter or daughter-in-law. And Durga of Pather Panchali can be the daughter category. Manisha and her elder sister in Kanchenjungha. And as you understand, that there are few characters who are playing multiple roles in that sense, because say Dayamoyi plays the role of the wife, Dayamoyi also plays the role of the daughter-in-law. Similarly, we have Neelima, who plays the young daughter in Mahapurush. We have Jaya, who is the widowed daughter-in-law in Aranyer Din Ratri. And we have Kamala, the very supportive daughter-in-law and sister-in-law in Jana Aranya. And then we have Indrani in Ganashatru, and there are a few other characters as well. Apart from these three, the wife, the daughter or the daughter-in-law, and the mother, there are certain other characters, certain other women characters in Ray's films as well, like the young Ratan in Postmaster. We have Gulabi in Obhijan. We have Monda, who maybe we can think her as the sister-in-law character. And then we have Aditi in Nayok and Aparna in Aranyer Din Ratri, both played by Sharmila Tagore, whom you cannot actually categorize into the other ones which we discussed just now. And then we have Tutul in Shimabatto. We have Kona in Jana Aranya, and then we have Shutapa, Kya, and the nurse. So they don't fit exactly into these broader categories which we discussed. And if we look into the representation of desire among these women characters, we will find that Gulabi and Duli probably express their sexual desires more than most of the other characters, and they hold no bars in expressing their feelings for the men whom they adore and they love. And Charu or Karuna or even Jaya, to an extent in Aranyer Din Ratri, probably they try to proclaim love, but they are married in different forms. So for them, it is love which is beyond their marriage. So it is more of an extra marital sort of engagement in which they want to get into. And then we have Arati, and she is already married, but we will see that she probably her expression for her own desires are very muted. So as if that she doesn't have much desires of her own. And then we have Shutapa and Kona and Nars, and these three characters coming in the two films of Calcutta Trilogy, Pratibandhi and Jana Aranya, and they express their desire for their own self more than any man outside of them. It is actually their love and their desire for their own self which is paramount. And in this lecture, we will look into mostly these two sets who are at the two extremes. One is Arati, who apparently is shown of desires, and then there are characters like Shrutapa or Kona who, or Adanas in Pratibandhi, who actually express their desires in a very bold way. If we straight away go into Mahanagar and Arati, we'll find that she is the typical quintessential Bengali middle class ghorer bou, which means the wife of the family. And we will find that she puts everyone else above her, everyone else's needs above her own desires or wishes. And we'll also find that due to the socioeconomic condition, the house in which she stays, the room which she lives in, those are very cramped. There are a lot of furniture, and a lot of people in the house as well. So there is no scope of freedom. There is no scope of empty spaces and no scope for reflection. So the only reflections which she can have about her own self is mostly at her workplace. She has, and we'll watch a couple of clips, which will actually illustrate the points which I'm trying to make. Now, if you look at this this clip, this still from this film, you'll see that the entire frame is very crowded, and that shows that shows her mental space as well. Like, it is very crowded with thoughts and well-being of everyone, and there is no open space, as I mentioned. And this is the other still, which is before she was to go out to work. And as you see that from the subtitles, that she is torn between the dilemma about whether she's doing it good, whether she's keeping everyone happy, if she can keep everyone happy by going out, so on and so forth. And if we watch the film, we'll find that she's always pulled back by the thoughts about her family and about her son and so on and so forth. So she has a lot of dilemma. She is not free from a dilemma, and that is the reason perhaps that her expression of her own desires for her own self is so muted. We will watch a clip from the film which will also show, like, she was working as a sales girl, and there were certain other sales girl in her organization as well. But from the way they dress and the way Arati dresses up, and the way they walk through the streets of Calcutta in a very confident way, and the way she walks, you'll find out that she is quite different, and she is, as I said, the quintessential Bengali housewife who is always torn between the two worlds, the outside world and the inner world, the world from where she's coming. So we'll watch this clip, and then we will continue our discussion. As we saw in that video clip, we can make out that Arati is not very confident. Arati is not confident. And in one of the earlier dialogues, she expresses this concern to her husband that she doesn't have the appropriate clothes to go out and be with her colleagues, because they were all very, very well dressed. Now, we will now watch a clip from a later part of the film, and we'll see that she is being applied lipstick, because she never applied lipstick before, by one of her Anglo-Indian colleagues. And I will want you to look into her expressions in the mirror, and we will also watch another clip just after that, in the same mirror, in front of the same mirror, when she got the news of her husband's losing his job. And we'll find that she applies the lipstick again. And at the time, she uh, she knows how to apply it. She doesn't need someone else to apply it for her. But that is so matter of fact, so commonplace, that uh, she does it just like that. She doesn't reflect much in front of the mirror. Uh, we will use the mirror as one of the interesting aspects to look at in the subsequent clips in the other films, but we will quickly look into these two clips.
Eyebrows and fingernails and everything. The old days. So why shouldn't you? There, now look. Don't you like it? Very nice. But if it tissue देखो, रुमाली मुस्लिमा गुलमल का. And keep this. It's good for business.
Since we have looked at these last two clips, and we know that the mirror acts as an important metaphor, and that is the place where, in front of which we expose our own selves. We spend a lot of time reflecting and looking at our own reflections. Now, if we look into Protidwandi, and we find and we see Shutapa, the sister character of Siddhartha in Protidwandi, and we'll see that she's a working woman, and she is quite ambitious about her job and about her career, and she's actually not very concerned about what others say, because when she comes back home, and moments before that, there was the wife of her boss who had come with an accusation against her, and her mother also cries, and her brother Siddhartha, he asks for an explanation, and she doesn't care, because she knows she's very strong-willed, and she knows that she's the bread earner of the family, and she knows that she has a career to make. And we'll see like how the woman, the working woman, changed in Ray's cinema from 1963 Mahanagar to the 70s in the Calcutta Trilogy. So in a span of 10, 15 years, the whole outlook has changed. And she has her own desires, and she wants to groom herself as against. For Arati, it is just a mere wish to be at par with the other sales girl, just to be like them, so that she is treated as an equal. But for Shutapa, it's not enough to be just equal, because she knows that she is the so-called man of the family, because she is earning, so she wants to be even better than what she is. And we will watch a few clips of, and I've tied them together, of Shutapa and along with Siddhartha, and we'll see that how she uses the mirror, and the mirror is acting as a tool not only for her own self, for her to look into the mirror as, but more than that, it is also a tool which she uses for her exhibitionist purposes. And we'll find that she spends a lot of time in front of the mirror. So we'll quickly watch the clip, and then we'll see how the mirror acts as the reflecting metaphor in. Okay.
বন্ধুরা বল।
বলবো
বলো না।
তোরা যে আজকে এত দেরি হলো কেন?
বলবো না।
তোমার না বলাটা আর আমার না বলাটা তো এক জিনিস না। আমার নামে তো একটু বাড়িতে এসে স্ক্যান্ডাল রটে।
ও কি বললেন মহিলাটি?
তুই জানতিস ও আসবে? তাহলে
ওর সম্বন্ধে শুনেছি, উনি কিরকম লোক সেটা জানি। কি বললেন কি?
আমি শুধু শেষটুকু শুনেছি দ্যাট ওয়াজ এনাফ।
কি কথা হয়েছে জানিস না?
না, আর সেটা বড় কথা। কথা হচ্ছে ও আসবে কেন? ও আসবে কেন?
আমি কি জানি? আমি তো তার জন্য দায়ী নয়।
তুই দায়ী নয়?
নো স্যার।
ঠিক আছে, বাট সামবডি ইজ দায়ী। তোর দোষ না থাকতে পারে, কিন্তু ওর তো দায়ী।
না
না এই জুলুম না, মা বাড়ির আবদার।
সামনের মাস থেকে আমি বসের বিয়ে হচ্ছি, 200 টাকা ইনক্রিমেন্ট।
সেটা অ্যাডভান্স।
5 মিনিট। সব ব্যাপারে ওরকম মাথা গরম করিস না, বুঝেছিস?
ঠিক আছে,
আগে বল ইন্টারভিউ কেমন হলো? বল।
চল।
আমি তো আর চাকরি ছাড়ছি না, আমাকে তো ফোর্স করবে না। আর আমি তো কাল গিয়ে সত্যি কথাটা বলে দেবো।
তোর সঙ্গে যদি প্রশ্ন করতে আসে তাহলে চাকরি ছাড়বি না?
সে যখন করবে তখন, এখন তো আর করছি না।
বউটাতে যাতা বলে গেল।
ও তো বলবেই মেন্টাল কেস। আমার আগে আরো কত মেয়ের সম্বন্ধে বলে বেরিয়েছে।
আর মা কি হবে?
কি আর হবে, মেয়ের সম্বন্ধে বদনাম হচ্ছে, এই তো।
সেটা কিছুই না, নাথিং।
দাদা, মডেলিং করলে কেমন হয়?
মডেলিং? এই মডেলিং কি করবি?
বেশ ভালো প্রফেশন, বেশ ভালো পয়সা দিচ্ছে, আজকাল অনেকে করছে।
তুমি যদি একটা জঘন্য পোশাক পরে পোজ করতে পারো।
জঘন্য মানে?
মানে তোমার পোশাক টোশাক কিছু নেই বলছিস?
তাতে কি হয়েছে? আমার ফিগারটা তো খুব খারাপ নয়।
So as we saw that there are actually two different moments of the film, and we see that mostly Shrutapa was actually doing similar acts in front of the mirror, and we can find out from the dialogues that Shrutapa has no guilt, and there is no question of any redemption for her, and she has no regrets for the choices that she has made. And she's very ambitious because she doesn't mind probably advances from our boss, because she's getting an increment of ₹200. And also we find that she wants to try her luck in modeling, and she's also learning Western dance. Like both these two things, if you think in the context of the city in 1970s, both these things, having a career in modeling and learning Western dance, are not very much a part of the Bengali middle class psyche. So without a doubt, she wants to break away from her middle class identity, and she wants to break away from this and from this house, and probably has aspirations to lead a better life and a very different life, more importantly. In an earlier scene, we will find that Siddhartha's friend asks him about Shutapa, and that she has already got a job. And Siddhartha very wryly remarks that you have seen my sister, something like this. The dialogue is something like this, that you have seen my sister, and you know that educational qualification is not always enough, and there is something else to it. Now, this is a very sexist remark, and one of the reasons for this is, as we can see, that both physically, the physique, as well as like emotionally, and Shrutapa's role as the breadwinner of the family, And because she has a control over her choices, I think that Siddhartha is threatened by Sutapa, threatened by her physique, threatened by her strong wills, threatened by her freedom of choices, so on and so forth. And if we look at the composition of the frame, and Siddhartha is sitting and Sutapa leaning forward and telling him that she will just take 5 minutes to go and have a bath. And we'll see that exactly similar composition repeats in a later sequence when Siddhartha actually goes along with his friend to a prostitute who was actually a nurse who doubles up as a prostitute. And there are certain very subtle connections which the Ray is trying to make here, because as we know that this is all which all from Siddhartha's point of view. So in a sense, Siddhartha probably equates the two characters. We'll quickly watch the sequence where Siddhartha goes and visits this nurse, and then you will understand that the compositions are very similar. She also lets her hair fall. The nurse spends a lot of time in front of the mirror, lets her hair fall, and the composition is very, very similar. So there is no mistaking that Ray, or rather Siddhartha, is trying to draw parallels between her own sister and this nurse character.
Osho, দাঁড়িয়ে কেন?
Push. Make yourself at home.
আর সারাদিন বড্ড খাটিয়েছে। 80 বছরের একটা বুড়ো মরেও।
তুমি নার্স করলে কেউ আর মরতে চায়? কি বলছে পরিতোষ? কিরে একটু জল খাবো।
নিজে নিয়ে নিতে পারবে না বুঝি?
না বাবা, ও তো হেঁটেছে।
তুমিও খাবে নাকি?
কি চুল দেখেছিস? প্রাইসলেস।
তোমার এই বন্ধুটিকে তো আগে দেখিনি।
না মানে পাটনা থেকে নতুন এসছে তো।
চুপ কেন এত?
কলকাতার হালচাল দেখে মাথা ভঙ্গ করছে। বললাম চল রিল্যাক্স করে আছি।
আমাকে কিন্তু 5 মিনিট সময় দিতে হবে ভাই। রাতে একটু ধুয়ে নেব। যা গরম।
5-এর জায়গায় 5.5 হলে কিন্তু মুশকিল।
বেশ বাবা, 1 লাখ টাকা সিগারেট খেয়ে যাচ্ছে, আমার একটা দাও।
সিগারেট চাইছে? আমি একেবারে আউট অফ স্টক।
সিনেমাটাতে প্রতিদিন সিগারেট।
সিগারেটটা ধরিয়ে দেবেন?
ম্যানার্স।
আসছি।
তোমার বন্ধু কিন্তু সবুজ হয়েছে।
Almost as if Siddhartha is trying to see her own sister in the same way as the nurse, but because of the familial restrictions, he is unable to do so. And we will see a very interesting dream sequence here, which again came up later in the film, and which started off as an anxiety dream, and Siddhartha watches in his dream watches most of the characters who are around him, and I did not refer to the other girl in this film called Kya, and there is apparently a relation which is going to form between the two. and the whole structure, the physical attributes of Kya are just opposites of both the nurse and Shutapa. She's short, she's very thin, and very non-threatening in that sense. And Siddhartha is very comfortable with her. And there, in the dream, in Siddhartha's dream, actually the sister and the nurse character are merged into one, because the one who can go to any length probably for a career of her own, and someone who is outside of her family, but who has actually been prostituting herself. So in the dream sequence, the two get merged. And only when, in the same dream sequence, only when that nurse's character changes to Kya's character, then that anxiety of Siddhartha gets dissipated, and he probably gets relaxed and is relaxed. So Shutapa, the sister character, the nurse character, who are two sides of the coin to an extent, they actually merge into one in Siddhartha's dream, and he gets relief only when it gets changed into Kya, who is probably his girlfriend to be. So we'll watch this clip, this very interesting dream sequence, because you know that Ray doesn't have a lot of dream sequences in most of his films, but this dream sequence actually is very important in the context of understanding the psyche of the Bengali middle class in the 70s, where the questions of morality are severely shaken, and Ray just portrays it through his protagonist. So we'll watch this clip, and then we will come back with the rest of the discussion. In Pratidwandi, Ray, even though he has given the reference of how Siddhartha had this problem of identification, of identifying the strong will of the woman, he is not prepared to accept, and that is the reason why he probably equates to an extent the willingness of his sister with that of a prostitute. But the prostitute is someone who has no address, has no previous history. So she is more of a alienated character, and Ray leaves us at that. But in the third film of the Calcutta trilogy, in Jana Aranya, that respite is also not there, because here we find that the sister of the hero Somnath's friend is actually prostituting herself, and actually prostituting herself in a work which Somnath needed her as well. So the prostitute no longer remains someone who is outside of the family. She has now become part of it. So we will see that just like the mirror acts as a reflection, a frame through which you reflect your feelings, your emotions, your desires, the window acts as a medium of expressing that to the outer world. So we'll see again a small clip from the film Jana Aranya, where you will find that the young sister who is Kona, and she is actually merging herself, the role of both the sister and the prostitute. In Pratidandi, it was the merging was happening in the dream sequence. In Jana Aranya, the merging has happened in the actual filmic reality. So, as you can see that the window acts as an extended mirror, because it not only reflects your own self, but your wish to communicate with the outside world as well. In the final take, I think the man of the 70s as represented in the different films of that time by Ray, and we find that they're confused, they're restless, and they are actually victims of the middle class morality, and they cannot go out, they cannot take life in their own hands. They're very much dependent, and they're probably tied to a lot of moral values which they cannot shrug off. Whereas the woman of the 70s is career driven, and she is strong willed, and she rejects the middle class morality to the extent that she can trade uh, uh, the different moral bindings. But what is very interesting at the same time is that Somnath, for example, in Jana Aranya, also trades his moral bindings, but at the same time he remains a very confused person. So he trades it, but he remains a confused person. Whereas the woman probably is more certain about herself, certain about her own desires, and that she needs to have an identity of her own, a life of her own, and the choices should be her own. So I think that brings us to the end of our lectures, today's lecture. And I tried to reflect on certain aspects of desire as perceived in Ray's films, mostly in the Calcutta Trilogy, the films of the Calcutta Trilogy, as compared to Mahanagar and Arati in Mahanagar, because they, to me, are the two extremes in Ray's filmography in terms of representing the desiring woman. As always, if you want to comment, if you share your interpretations, we are there. So do visit our website and do visit Silhouette pages, and not only for the articles on Satyajit Ray and his films, but also there are a lot of other articles as well on cinema as such, and international cinema as well. So keep looking up Silhouette, and till then, goodbye.